Welcome to Confirmation Bias, presented by the League Ambassadors.
I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and as of 30 minutes ago, the Los Angeles Lakers have a better future than the 4 teams that just got eliminated in the NBA playoffs. And that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Junior Blue, and I said the Wizards bench was going to cause them in these playoffs, and 5 points in Game 7. Yeah, that was my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Dad, and it's been a rough week for James Harden. He's taken more L's than we know. Let's just ask Moses Malone Jr. And that's my confirmation bias.
Rob Pelinka, you on the clock. We can't afford you to fuck this up. And that's my confirmation bias.
And I'm Ambassador Chef Curry. As long as James Harden is asked to carry the load for the Rockets, Houston will always have a problem. And that's my confirmation bias.
Welcome to Confirmation Bias, presented by the League Ambassadors.
Y'all giddy motherfuckers.
This is episode 18 of our show. As a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is at the League AM. That's Facebook. That's YouTube. Our YouTube channel actually is League Ambassadors. But Twitter, Instagram, follow us. Also, diplomatic immunity. If you are watching the show right now via our live stream, please submit any questions or comments that is sports related or anything that you may hear on the show that you want us to address at the end. And then also, please visit our website, theleagueam.com. And particularly for those sports fans that are super excited about what's happening in the world of sports, you have diplomatic immunity where you can make submissions to our site and we will post them for the world to see. A shout out to Chief Diplomat Blackman for holding that down.
Nutso.
And yeah, let's get some stuff in here. Let's get to the show.
I literally skipped to my car today.
You skipped to your car.
Whistling.
Let's get to our hot topic, which is not about the Lakers keeping their lottery pick. Whew. But that was also great.
Hey, y'all were really quiet.
Until.
Well, the math was not in our favor.
Yeah. Until it was.
Sounds like a fix.
But
And we'll take it.
Exactly.
we will get to what we want to do, and we did this before after the end of round 1, is kind of do a post-mortem on the round 2 losers in the NBA playoffs. Round 2, the conference semifinals concluded yesterday with an exciting, and that's relatively speaking, Game 7, where the Boston Celtics prevailed against the Washington Wizards, score of 115-105. The Celtics were led by Mr. Isaiah Thomas, 29 points, 12 assists. Had a really great series considering everything that he's had to deal with. But then also Mr. Kelly Olynyk, Mr. Man Bun, came out of nowhere with 26 points in a series that saw the home team win every game. Ultimately, the Wizards, though, were done in by their lack of depth, which, Junior Blue has already talked about. The bench was outscored in yesterday's game 48-5. And so, like I said, same thing we did round 1. Let's look at these 4 teams. We'll stay in Washington. Notable free agent, Mr. Otto Porter. And this was we've seen this theme before, career productivity in a contract year. Question I want to ask you guys, do you break the bank to bring him back? Because he's gonna get a lot of good offers.
I think he fits exactly what they try to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's other teams, like you said, that will want someone like him.
Mm-hmm.
OKC.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who can. He led the league in 3-point percentage this year. He plays defense.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see them keep him, but I don't know.
Question is, who do you bring in to replace him if you don't break the bank?
Well, the thing is depth is an issue, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's the one. You have to, do we believe that Otto Porter is as good as he played this year? And I think if you have any doubts about that, I would say that you take that money. And I think this is going to be a recurring thing for teams, at least for the foreseeable future in the NBA. Do you spend a lot of money on, a key cog or a key player, or do you use that money, if you're able to basically build greater depth?
They have to get better depth because that's the one reason why they lost. So if you don't fix that problem,
I mean, literally, that is their number one problem. We talked about it before the playoffs. They really had no one come off the bench that can give them anything consistently.
Brandon Jennings is trash.
To me,
he's doing op-eds.
And Kevin, I want you to touch on this, but to me, it looked like he was a guy who. He looked like a guy who just wasn't familiar with the offense. Not every mid-season or in-season trade works. And I think for point guard, that's probably the hardest position to come in at the middle or towards the end of the season and really be able to make a significant contribution.
Yeah, not only that, but I don't necessarily know if Brandon Jennings, his intention matches his skill set, because he looked like he wanted to contribute, he wanted to score, but those legs weren't there.
I look like I want to be taught. I don't mean it's gonna happen.
That's my point. It just, I don't know whether he's not capable or the fit wasn't right. I don't think he's gonna be back next year. I was kind of hoping that the Wizards went after Darren Williams, around that time, but they weren't able to make that move. To answer Omar's question, though, I think a replacement. I hope Otto stays. I think he will, because he went to school at Georgetown. He, of course, spends a lot of time in the area. But Kelly Oubre, if he hadn't got suspended for that one game, I think we'd be able to see his potential. But they need depth. I don't think they can afford for him to leave.
Okay, let me ask you this, and this is I was having a discussion yesterday, actually, with the ambassador, Skinder the Mindbender, about Bradley Beal. I feel like he's someone who, and nothing he could do about it, he came in at the same time as John Wall, but he would have benefited for having a couple of years where he was the man so that he could continue to develop his offensive repertoire. What's happened, though, is that he came up at the same time as John Wall. John Wall's made the leap and is that guy. And now I feel like Bradley's kind of stuck as this spot-up shooter. Is there another...
I don't know about that. He had 39 yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of it being on jump shots.
He took it to the rack, too, though.
Yeah.
One thing he did show me yesterday, though, was leadership. I think it was a timeout, and they was getting their ass whooped, and you can tell some of the players had given up. He made sure they all came to the huddle. He was getting in their ass when John Wall was sitting there not saying a thing.
I feel like what stunted Bradley Beal was the injuries. Like, he's dealt with injuries the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So this was the first year he played the majority of the games, and he took a step.
So is there another jump left?
Yeah, there's another jump.
I think that he's only 23 years old.
Yeah,
Let's not forget that. I think the way that their games mesh well together, they work well. He's a ball-dominant point guard in Joe Wall who looks for people off the curl. He runs off the curl well, and he can get his own shot at times. He's only going to get stronger, going to get better as long as he stays healthy. I think you keep them two together.
Yeah, I think he can definitely take that step. He reminds me of a poor man's Klay Thompson in terms of what they're asking him to do on both sides of the ball. Maybe throw C.J. McCollum in there, just that those guys that they can play off the ball, get their shot coming off a screen.
But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, C.J. McCollum to me has a better floor game, a more advanced floor game than Brad Beal.
But I think
that's what I'm saying though. That's what because I think that's what will allow him to be better because of his time playing point guard in college. He has more of a floor game where he's not just relying on coming off screens. And I think we see the same thing with Klay Thompson, where a lot of times it's just coming off screens and then you're dependent on somebody feeding you the ball versus being able to go and get your offense.
What got Klay to take that next step is that he has a coach creative enough to get him involved in the offense. And we saw
Scotty made me look bad.
We saw Scotty Brooks rear his ugly head last night.
Yeah, he did.
Well, Beal definitely has a better shot selection than CJ.
Let's stay in the East. Let's move to the Toronto Raptors, who I got to tell you, man. I mean, I went out on the limb, and there's a Cleveland fan that I know very well, and I spent a lot of time telling him, letting him like, hey, man, the Raptors are gonna give the Cavaliers.
Is he a friend of the studio?
He is a friend of the network studios, Jason, and he's actually looking for me as we speak.
He is. Because that's all you did was talk about how they match up. Well.
Man, the Raptors laid the biggest egg ever.
Man, that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. They got dusted off for real. So here's the thing. Everything in their future is tied to personnel decisions. You've got Lowry, that's a free agent. You've got Serge Ibaka. You've got PJ Tucker. So, I'll start in reverse. Does Lowry stay?
That's reverse. I think that's the first domino.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, because the reverse of that would be does Toronto want Lowry to stay? Because if they sign Lowry, if they sign Ibaka, they sign PJ Tucker, they got no more money and they're locked into that roster.
Yeah, but who else is coming? They gonna sign Rudy Gay back or something?
Reset. They need to push the button.
I will say this: where did Kyle go to school?
Villanova.
Okay. He got very, very cozy with Colangelo.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Colangelo?
In Philadelphia.
And that's what the whispers out in the ether are talking about is Philly.
So he's you think
he opted out already, right?
He did opt. He said he was opting out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's his name opted out last year too, but he ended up staying.
Right. So then if he leaves,
It's too much money to stay in your deal now.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna opt out.
if he leaves, to your point, Kevin, Les is uttering the reset button. Is that what we're talking about here? We're gonna blow it up, and it's a cold winter in Toronto.
I'm with Les. Push that button and push it fast as quickly as possible. They tried, like Omar said. I think DeRozan, he came back. They wanted to give it another shot. It's just not there, man. They rely too much on DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, and they're too inconsistent to be the number one, number two every night, especially against LeBron, who has that number.
And DeRozan's forehead is too big for them to be counting on him like that.
Kev, do you think they just don't fit well together? Because I get that.
Yeah. If you compare them to every other 1 and 2 combination that we mentioned in previous conversation, they're the ones that just they don't mesh well. They don't have the chemistry. I don't know what it is that they're missing, but I think they have to go their separate ways.
But the funny thing is, I bet you Lowry was telling DeRozan to come back. Don't leave me. Don't leave me.
And they
watch
do
you be out.
And they do have a replacement in Corey Joseph, who is not. He's not great, but he's a serviceable point
They're
guard.
actually not too far off. It's just one is a little bit better.
Great way to be talked about.
They play kind of
Serviceable.
similar.
Are we sure Dwayne Casey is part of the solution and not part of the problem?
I'm gonna sip my water on that.
Reset button.
All right, let's move to the West, and we have another series that it seemed like it ended a while ago, and that's the Utah Jazz. They got dismissed by the Golden State Warriors in a sweep. Gordon Hayward is a free agent. He is one of those free agents that is definitely eligible for the super duper flooper max.
Right.
If he makes an all NBA team, same lines, along the same lines as Kyle Lowry. Number one, what should Gordon Hayward do?
This is one of those things where I really have no idea what he's gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
He could be one of those guys who stays, but it's like, do you stay somewhere knowing that you don't have a shot?
But that's the
they're
thing.
young, though.
They're young.
Yeah.
Super young.
I think they were the youngest team in the playoffs.
Well, George said he's not. George said he's gonna. What he does is up to Hayward. So if Hayward stays, George stays.
I think that's where they need to upgrade.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. George Hill I think that is where the upgrade needs to happen.
He's been trash for a while. They just kept him in that spot.
Upgrade with who?
He did get traded for Kawhi Leonard, though.
Yeah, we can't forget that. Yeah, it feels like George Hill is always the guy that needs to be replaced.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because he's not a point guard.
Yes.
He just they definitely need another scorer on the team. I feel like that's what they're missing. Like if you, as presently situated, they need another guy that can go and get buckets, right?
Well, you got to get keep that first guy first.
Yeah, exactly.
So you
Right.
can get that second.
Okay,
guy.
Exactly.
And all
yeah.
they can
Who's
do
their
is offer
shooting
the
guard?
max.
Rodney Hood.
Yeah. So
Okay.
does he
And
take
had
that?
off playoffs.
Does
too.
he take that leap? Do they keep Favors and see how he pans out?
So I'm glad you mentioned Derek Favors. So I got a question for all of you guys, and I'll go around. Who says no to this deal? C.J. McCollum for Derek Favors and Rodney Hood.
Portland. Portland says no
Why?
because
You get
Favors,
be- you get-
Favors has been hurt, and we see Hood is a secondary, maybe third player.
That's why
Honestly?
That's why you got Lillard. You got
think-
you got Nurkic. You get better defensively. You get the
do.
size.
I just think
And they get away-
Favors his injury history is a problem.
They get away from that light and slight.
Right.
You're assuming they want to get away from that. Right?
It ain't work. It hasn't worked. But I mean, going back to Utah though, they're super young, right? And they got a pretty good young coach. Snow or Balco. Shout out to Skinny.
Oh my God. The only reason why he brought it back to Utah was to do that. That was great though.
I had to get that in.
Kevin, I saw your face when I proposed that mythical deal. Like you're thoroughly thinking about it.
Well, unlike the first deal that you proposed in the chat, I think I'd have to sleep on that one. I definitely think about it. I think that's a move that Portland has to get away from the Lillard McCall. I mean, they look great, but they can't make the over the hump with those guys.
And Utah gets that scorer, that secondary scorer. If you're able to re-sign Gordon Hayward, you now get that secondary scorer that can initiate offense, but also go get his buckets.
I'll go back to my original question. Who do you replace George with?
Well, I would keep in that scenario. I'm keeping George Hill.
In that scenario, you keep him.
Yeah, because I mean, yes, I agree with Les.
Because CJ can take up the slack.
Yeah, I agree with Les. George Hill is the problem just because he's not consistent enough scoring, and he low key he also gets hurt a lot.
But to tell you the truth, if they're interested in trading McCollum, they don't have to settle for Derek Favors.
Yeah.
Well,
They do not have to settle for that.
Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between actively looking to trade for somebody and then someone making a call and reacting as Kevin did and
But-
going, I didn't think about that, but
if the point is, if they start thinking about it, then they can start making calls, and that's not who they taking. They're not taking Derek Favors for him.
all right. Finally, we've got the Houston Rockets. They got dealt with in surprisingly 6 games. I think most of us had them at least going to a 7th game with the San Antonio Spurs. James Harden, he got goons. But but he didn't have any goons for the Spurs.
Nah.
So first of all, this season, legit, they averaged 43-point attempts. Number one, is that a sustainable strategy?
No. Let's move on.
I mean, in Game 6,
No.
he looked like he lost a year off his life playing for D'Antoni.
They have to at least try to incorporate some sort of defense and run some sort of offense.
He said it
in the
out loud,
playoffs.
too,
I know,
with a
like
serious
for real,
face.
like yeah, really.
No, but I mean-
some sort of defense, sure.
No, that shit doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It's never going to work.
Kevin?
Not at all. I agree with Devin. Other than the fact that they refuse to play defense, you can't put everything offensively on the shoulders of James Harden, because whether or not he got tired from a long regular season, or maybe more likely he tends to fold in big moments. If you look at the playoffs last year, or even the entire series, the final series when he was in OKC, we forgot he was on the floor. I'm not comfortable with them putting all of that on him. Maybe they need another ball handler so he can maybe play off ball or spell him sometimes. I think they got a good core though. They got Capella, they got depth in Lou Williams and Eric Gordon.
I think they're one player away.
I think they just need to. D'Antoni needs to utilize his depth.
I don't think it's the players. I think
They're
it's
one
the
coach
scheme.
away.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to Black versus Blue. In an effort to be more like the NFL, the NBA will have their inaugural award show this year, hosted by none other than Aubrey Graham on TNT.
Who's Aubrey Graham?
That is Drake. And they're going to have the show air on June 26th. So I want to pose a question to you guys. Is this a hit or a flop?
I mean, I think it's a flop, but
Yeah,
Flop. Can they? I mean, the votes are already in. Can they even hold it for that long, or is it gonna hit the internet in 2 weeks?
Oh, as long as they don't use the same accounting firm as the Oscars, I think they should be all
I
right.
think actually it comes out. at least the All NBA stuff comes out
Thursday. Yeah.
And they have to do that for contract considerations.
Yep.
I just, man, this is greed. All of this is greed, and it's not just the NBA. The NFL is doing the same thing, and they're paying the piper for it. But it's all, the thought is extending the season. No one, it's over. No one cares. There, you have the draft, and you have free agency, award shows, and putting a lot of attention on combines, and it's just like, first of all, NBA looks bad because they look like they are biting off of the NFL. And then it's not interesting. No one cares at all.
Yeah, especially after the finals are being played. Who cares about the regular season defensive player? Who cares about those awards after the champion is crowned and the finals MVP is given out? Who cares?
Not a soul. Okay, so let's move our focus to Mr. Colin Kaepernick. He's reportedly received interest from a few teams per some sources. Now, Colin has denied some of this. But where there's smoke, there's fire. Will he be on a opening day roster in the NFL? Is this hope or hype?
Well, I think there's hope for him when you look at particularly the depth chart in Seattle.
Yep.
Behind Russell Wilson.
Boinking.
You got a miscreant. You've got two other guys
Did you say a miscreant?
A miscreant, yes. Trayvon Boykin is a miscreant. He's been arrested twice since he's been in Seattle. And then they got two other guys who I don't even know who they are.
Plus that line of sex.
Yeah. So, I mean.
So it would behoove them.
Yeah.
To have somebody who can run.
Exactly.
Hey, Michael Bennett said so it must be true, right?
Yeah.
They don't lie.
They don't.
Right.
The
Yeah.
Savage Brothers.
Yeah. So I think it's hope for him, but it's this whole ordeal has been really interesting. Mm-hmm. It's been really interesting, and I think like I said, there's arguments to say like maybe this dude is being blackballed, but also
Blaine Gabbert got a job.
He did. Jay Cutler didn't get a job though.
Well, Jay decided not to. Okay,
he didn't take the bait.
He didn't take the bait. we were hoping. Okay. So over this past weekend, it was announced that none other than Mr. Tom Brady will be on the cover of Madden. They're calling this the GOAT edition. Given the history of the so-called Madden Curse, is this a real thing? Is this newsworthy or nothing to see here?
I hope it's a real thing.
It should be hopeful.
Hey, that's shit right. You need to switch that.
It's hope.
There are been 20. This is the 20th Madden cover, I believe.
Is it?
And 17 have failed to the curse.
Really?
Yes. Only what's my man in Detroit?
Calvin Johnson.
Calvin Johnson had one of his best years.
Larry Fitz.
And Larry Fitz.
No, he had a good year.
He had a good year.
Palomalu didn't because they shared the cover.
Yeah,
that
they
year.
shared the cover.
Oh, Palomalu.
Yeah.
And what's his name? There's one more. I can't think of
Eddie
his name.
George.
Ray
Eddie
Lewis.
George. Eddie George had a good follow-up year. And Beckham.
You said follow-up year? No,
His second
Beckham was.
yeah,
Beckham was. But I would argue Beckham. The internet got him.
Hey, he still put up 1,400 yards.
He made wrong life choices.
The curse comes in a lot of different ways. What you gonna say, Kev?
Nah, I'm gonna just say if Tom Brady doesn't get hurt or doesn't have a bad year this year, just give it to him. He's the greatest to ever do it.
I got a funny feeling about it. And it's completely like just I think this.
There's some merit to this.
Yeah, this might be the great send off.
They had Barry Sanders on the cover.
This might
and
end.
then he retired.
Yeah, this might end Madden, the Madden franchise. And if it goes that other way,
They did not trade their backup quarterback.
They did not trade their backup
They
quarterback.
knew he was
Exactly.
going to be on the Madden cover.
Exactly.
On to this.
All righty.
This is evil.
I've been waiting all month for this. It's our izuwititornah debate segment where we have Ambassador Kenny Ken versus Junior Blue. And we got a little, I think we already have a preconceived bias on this topic, but our question tonight is, if you're ranking all-time top NBA players, who do you put ahead? The great Kobe Bryant or Timothy Duncan? So tonight...
Oh, look at the pain in his face.
We have I I think that's going to be hard for Kenyon no matter which direction this goes. Do I have a coin? I don't know if I have a coin. You know what? I got a number. I'm picking a number behind my head. Les, pick a number 1 or 2.
1 or 2?
Pick a number 1 or 2.
1.
It is 1.
Kevin, that was fucking bananas. Fuck.
Hey, listen. I'm in the middle here. Les, you get to choose. You want to argue for Kobe or for Tim Duncan?
I'm going to argue for Kobe.
Can somebody grab Kenyon's shoestrings and his belt?
I got the timer.
Kenyon, do you want to go first or second?
I'm gonna go second.
Les, it is on you. Dev, you got the clock.
I got the clock.
I'm so sorry, brother. I love you.
All right, here we go. Kobe Bean Bryant, under the bright lights and media attention, grew to be one of the greatest players in the NBA history. Entering the league right out of high school at the age of 17, he would soon become the face of the premier team in the NBA, the Los Angeles Lakers. His career accolades read like someone who they should waive the Hall of Fame waiting period for. He won 5 NBA championships, 3 between 2000 and 2002, the first three-peat. Then he won again 2009 and 2010. With only one player from the initial championship team, from initial three-peat, Derek Fisher. And in between those times, he drugged players like Smush Parker and Kwame Brown to the playoffs. He was an 18-time All-Star, 15-time All-NBA, 2-time scoring champion. He has the 3rd most points in NBA history. Kobe played in the playoffs 15 times, and only 3 times did he not make the second round. Kobe raised his points per game average in the playoffs over the regular season, so when it mattered the most, he stepped his game up. He was one of the rare players that wanted to take the last shots. That was one of my favorite things about Kobe. And he excelled at it. There is literally a 15-minute video of Kobe game winners on YouTube. So he always stepped up. To cement his legacy, let's look at the young NBA stars now. Now that he's retired, you have players, young stars, contacting him to train with him, to just pick his brain, or even credit the Mamba mentality when you hit game-winning shots in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, like Kyrie Irving did. The man is a global icon. He pushed the NBA forward when MJ left. Better than Tim Duncan.
I'm so sorry, Kenyon.
No, you're not.
Dev, cue him up. It's on you, Ken.
Okay. When you're ready, sir.
All right. Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward ever. Kobe Bryant is the 2nd best shooting guard ever. Kobe is akin to Godfather 2. He was the sequel to a legendary predecessor. But Tim Duncan was a unique, culture-defining, standalone masterpiece that held up over time. Tim was unique in the sense that in an era where fundamentals are severely lacking, Duncan was a perennial all-star whose game was rooted in the most basic concepts. In fact, Kobe Bryant himself was a beneficiary of witnessing Tim's unique quality, specifically the execution of the bank shot, something that he readily admitted he took from Tim Duncan's game. Tim Duncan was also culture defining. He defined the culture of the San Antonio Spurs. He defined it in the sense of selflessness. He routinely took pay cuts so that they could continue to be a good franchise. He also defined the Spurs culture with consistency, winning, always having a team where they didn't win any more than 50 games, where they always won 50 games. You know what? Fuck this shit.
I was like, is he dead?
My confirmation bias is
got through more than I would have.
Oh shit. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Kenyon. Oh, he's a huge Kobe Bryant fan.
Hey, y'all know what's crazy? That audio lasted a year.
You got way farther than I thought you was going.
So as the judge for this segment, I would like to give a round of applause to you guys. It was fucking awesome. If there's ever a way for us to grab the video of Kev the entire time
Playing the violin.
Oh shit. This is a really tough conversation, but I think for the purposes of this debate, I think it is not Kobe. It is Tim Duncan. And that's my confirmation bias.
Oh man,
You-
that hurt.
We know he's a hater though.
No, I would say that I think Kobe's the better basketball player. I think he's a killer. There's none other like him. But the selflessness stuff, taking one for the team, Kobe did not do that shit. And he sunk y'all franchise to where y'all are now. And Timmy just finished, and they never missed the offs.
Kobe didn't do that.
David Stern did.
Oh, that's a whole nother fucking shit.
Well, hey, you put it on Kobe like it was his fault. He the player.
One thing I did find that was interesting though about Tim is he's one of 3 players to have 1,000 regular season wins, which I think we often take him for granted.
Right.
His consistency and his versatility. Me and Dev talked about it before the show that he was able to play on different types of San Antonio Spurs teams, with playing with Robinson to being the guy to then sharing with Tony Parker, Ginobili to Kawhi. He was able to mix his game up.
I think if you take emotion out of it, it's a hell of a conversation to have.
conversation.
But it's a
Yeah.
conversation you can have for a long time. But, you know,
Hey.
I'm a Laker fan, so.
Here's what I'm telling you right now, straight up and down, because that was some bullshit. I mean, Tim Duncan's good, but the thing is this, right? Tim Duncan, his game, I would like to see him play in the 70s and the 80s when there were legendary big men. So men like Bob Lanier, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Moses Malone. I guarantee you his NBA story would be very different than what it is right now. And I'm not taking anything away from him. But Kobe Bryant, you put him in an era when the guards were better, which was in the 90s. Kobe Bryant's NBA story would be exactly the same. And you add to the fact that when he did play in the 2000s, the guards that he went against were much more athletic than the guards in the 90s. So he had to not only overcome skill, but he also had to overcome an athletic disadvantage. And I think when you have a game that is transcendent over time, that's always going to outrank the person that dominates over a time-specific era.
But if that person is the best at their position, and there's no question, which everyone says, then you kind of have to take that into consideration. And Timmy did play against Shaq, C. Webb, Garnett, Dirk, all them guys.
Yeah, that does not compare. That does not nowhere near compare. Like I said, put him in it. What I'm saying is this: if you put him in the transcendence, if you put him in the 70s and the 80s, when that was Bill Walton in the big man era, Tim Duncan is a vastly different. His NBA story is vastly different.
I will say this
Oh,
about
yeah.
your time period argument. The one thing Kobe would have took was more fighting L's.
More than he already has?
That's what I'm talking about. 'Cause they didn't fight when he was playing. All right, folks, it's time for diplomatic immunity, where fans gets to ask us questions. I got a couple questions. One from Jason in San Diego. I'm gonna put it out to all the ambassadors, especially us Laker fans. Who would you guys rather the Lakers draft at number 2?
I'm going Josh Jackson. We need a defensive player, and there's nobody else at the top of the draft.
We need a dog. So
Yeah, I agree.
whoever the dog is in the individual workouts, that's who we want. I think there's no question that the top 3 players in particular, which there is a consensus, it's Ball, it's Fultz, it's Jackson. Those are the top 3 players. Whoever is the biggest dog, that's who I want.
Yep.
We need an attitude adjustment.
Devin.
I think I need to make the move and get better. I don't know if one player does it. If that's the question, I couldn't answer that.
All right, and I got another question from Eric Cotman. Who do y'all want to see on 9/16? The GGG fight or Floyd and McGregor?
Well, 2 of them might be ass whippings. Let's watch the more competitive ass whippings. I'm going to go the boxing match.
Yeah,
The boxing match.
You know, we all boxing fans. So
Yeah.
not the mixed martial arts.
McGregor doesn't have a shot.
All right, that's it. We out. Anybody else? All hearts and minds are clear.
Hey, Raina, hit it one time for the road.
Oh, you want the...
No.
It was me, man. It was me. I wasn't ready.
We're getting out of here before they do this. Thank you for visiting Confirmation Bias. Please follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. Hit us up on social media also to let us know if your bias is confirmed. We will see you on Thursday.